Welcome back to Beneath the Beat podcast. Per usual, we've got another really special guest today. He's known around the world for his solo piano playing. Right now, he is a staff collaborator at Texas A&M University and has done solo piano tours all over the world. So without further ado, please welcome Miguel Sousa. So tell us, what have you been up to as far as your music career? I know, like, right out of Central, you got hired at A&M, and like, honestly,
That's
I know,
awesome.
Yeah, I knew that you were hired as a staff accompanist, but
yeah. So back in 2015, right when I finished MU, I got this job at A&M. So and it was a big move, and for me in my career, I'm always trying, and maybe it was one of my mistakes. I'm always trying to find a place where I can settle my roots, and then explore as much as I can. So when I got here, my first priority was, okay, let me show them what can I do pianistically speaking. And then after that, I started the concert series in town too. I started seeing what was the music scene. So I started working with instrumentalists besides A&M. I tried to explore as much. I'm a music director at the church too. So I tried to explore as much as I could musically, artistically, but without even thinking about it, because I was very focused in just playing piano. That's my go-to. But being in College Station and being at A&M really taught me to kind of let me explore. There's doors that are open for you, and instead of shutting down because I was uncomfortable with trying something new, let me explore what that brings. I started directing choirs too, which was something I never imagined doing. So I try to go beyond what I thought was my end goal or my end career as a musician.
yeah, I feel like that's super important. Like it seems like everyone has this picture of what it means to be a musician. And like, especially going through music school, you're like if you're studying performance, you're like, I'm gonna gig, that's it. And the reality of it is, in today's day and age, you totally can do that. You can, but you're gonna be working 7 days a week. You're not gonna be buying any mansions or anything like that. So for you to explore different realms, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, a career is very, sorry to interrupt. Career, no, 10 years ago, so before I came to America, when I was 20, 22, 23, I was the only thing I'm going to do is play solo, chamber music, or playing with instrumentalists as a staff accompanist. That was my only thing that I wanted to do. So even when I applied to jobs after CMU, that was the only thing I applied to, because I was so, especially teaching for me, teaching back in Portugal is a little, if you can perform, you go back to teaching. And I had this prejudice against teaching. And so that defined the years after, after coming to America, and so, no, the only thing I'm going to do is playing. I'm not going to do anything else. But that mindset really limits how much you can do and how much income also can you have.
Yeah.
And now in nowadays, the more flexible you are, the easier you get a job. While if you know to do just one thing, that's not good enough at this point. And you guys are musicians, that how many times you had to face something that you were not used to, or you didn't know anything about it, but say, okay, why not? Let me try it. So my mentality really changed in these last 5 years. While before I was like, this is who I am. I'm not going to change. Whatever. I'm an adult. It's not worth to change it. But then, no, wait. Humans are flexible. Life is very flexible. You can't just stay in one path, because if you just stay in one path, you're not growing. You're just, staying in the same level. There's no growth for you. There's no end game to reach. So with my mindset changing really allows me to explore a lot of things, and the things that made me happy too, that I was not expecting. including teaching. Now that's something that I like to do, and I know the students I the type of students I can deal with, and gives me pleasure to do it. Life taught me how to be more open to what life brings to you.
Yeah. I think that's a very, very important point for musicians specifically to hear. The fact that you may have your heart and mindset on a certain thing, but that's limiting you to the experiences of what music can actually bring to a lot of people. I know for me, like, I just got hired teaching like front ensemble at a school, which I never thought in a million years that I would ever want to do or like to do. But that's something I just started getting into, and I really enjoy it. And now I'm able to do this thing that I didn't think I was able or was ever going to happen for me to do that. So, yeah.
And even I've noticed too that my solo playing, my playing changed a lot with interactions I had. So, for example, working with choir really taught me how to breathe, and I start to incorporate other concepts that I was not aware that they're not taught to us in my own playing. And I felt, getting that changing to a more mature player too. Yeah. Because I was playing with so many people, interacting with so many people, and just having these different experiences, even writing music. I wrote music for the church. I mean, something simple, but just, I felt so much pleasure because I never imagined that I was able to do it. I remember being at CMU, and this still was with Zach and, Dominic, and they were jamming, and they're asking me, oh, go just play something. And I just could. I mean, I was stuck in my own way that I just, I just didn't even feel comfortable to try something. But now, even if it's just 1 4 5 1, something as simple as that. But the fact that I tried to do that, that was a new task that I included. It really makes you, more proud of yourself. When I was playing a Mozart concert, Mozart wrote his own cadences. And I wrote my own cadences. I mean, and it was so, I don't know, I just felt so much joy doing something that that was mine. That this is mine. I wrote this and I applied to this performance, and it's unique, in all the industry.
That is a unique experience too. Writing something, or even arranging something, and listening to other musicians play it for you.
Yeah.
Especially good musicians.
Well.
So yeah. That's cool. That's a really awesome perspective. And that's something that we haven't even talked about yet.
Yeah.
The fact that if you limit yourself, your music is there's so many different realms. And there's so many different roads that you can take, and why limit yourself,
Yeah. Music is very complex, and it's art. So, there's all this universe that the more you get involved with, the more knowledgeable you'll be. And for the listeners, I got a tattoo on Monday, and I remember he was talking about, being a pianist. And I told him, I'm pretty sure it's the same as your job, because you will never find 100%, okay, I'm in this level, I'm the best of the best, I can't change anymore. It's impossible. It's something that you go until you die. You have this goal to reach that, you can get closer, but you're never going to, if you say, okay, I'm 100% good, I'm the best, you're not growing. You're not, there's just nothing. So the more you involve yourself in music or arts or, books, whatever, or in life, the more open and you are to that goal that you set up for yourself when you start to this. I'm telling you, when I was 20, 21, I was putting deadlines on myself. If in 5 years I don't have anything that says, okay, Miguel, you're in the right path, I'm not going to do music anymore. I was always putting these deadlines too that are just suffocating, because, that's not life. And rather than enjoying every moment that you have. And I can tell you, when I was at CMU, I was so focused in the future that I really didn't enjoy the present in collaborating with the people there that I should have. But I was so focused, no, I need to get a job. I just, I need to get out of here, just get my life. Then I can start something new. Instead of focusing in the present, that really didn't allow me to enjoy. Sorry about that.
He agrees.
That didn't really enjoy the present and enjoying everything that degree can provide you.
Yeah.
So it's important that we really live the present and try as much as we can in order to grow and have the future that we want to, I think.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's like a recurring theme with a lot of musicians and a lot of artists. Or really, like we were talking about it the other day with one of our friends that was on the podcast, about that feeling where it's like, I need to be the best. Like, I'm not going to sleep. I'm not going to go and hang with my friends because I need to be the best. And how in some ways it's a really good thing, and in other ways it's a really damaging thing, because you can get to that point where you are the best. And did you really enjoy getting there? Are you enjoying yourself now? That's such a common thing, I feel like, amongst musicians.
Yeah, and I and Zach, especially you, Zach, you knew me back then. I mean, I was never very talented in music. It was very hard work. So I remember, back in those days, practicing without exaggerating 16 hours per day. Because I wanted to be the best of the best of the best. I sacrificed, I was not going to hang out with friends, going to reduce all my social activities that I could, just practicing and practicing. That can give you something, but it doesn't give you all the scope that you need,
Yeah.
And one thing I learned recently too is that you need to take care of your body. Whatever, you have to preserve your body. You cannot sacrifice your well-being to achieve something else. Sorry, that was my foster dog. He's agreeing with me. But, I remember, sleeping 5 hours or something, and just putting in that state of mind and of body that you just was like going through the motions, just to sacrifice to practice. I need to practice. I can't just do anything else.
Yeah.
And again, that yes, you become better, but it needs to have a balance in order to. That you're putting hard work, but also enjoying life. But again, you cannot go outside to the world and say, I have this product if the product is not polished, because that's a lot of things that I see. I see a lot of people not having a standard, their standard is very low, and they're just lazy. And you cannot go, you can go outside and put that word, but no one is going to buy it. You have, music is, no matter what, it's a commitment. You have to be committed to what you're doing. You have to practice. You have to get yourself better. Again, you need to find a balance, in life, but you cannot go to the industry to advertise something that is not polished, because the next person to you will have that polished, and then you'll lose the job.
It's like, that's like such an interesting thing, because music as a whole is like not like that at all, and what I mean as like a whole, I mean like from a consumer standpoint, or from the people that are not trying to work in the music industry, they just love playing, like it does not have to be that, but there is, when you get to that point where you're like, okay, I'm going to pursue this as a career, like, yeah, there are sacrifices that you need to make, and your product does have to be polished, but I know for me, it was really important to like take a step back and say, what is good enough? What is good enough for right now? What is my maximum amount of productive time here? That's something that I did all the time. I would stay there way too long. I'd blow my chops out. I wouldn't be able to play. I wouldn't sound good. And it was just because I was putting in the time for the sake of putting in the time, not putting in the productive time that I needed to get something right. You know what I mean? I feel like that's such an important thing. You have to go into your practice session saying, I'm going to make this thing better. And then be able to say, when that thing is better, that was my goal for today. That was my goal for this hour. I'm going to go take 2-hour break, or I'm going to, this is it for today. Being able to walk away sometimes and say, hey, I'm done for right now. I feel like that's a really important thing.
Yeah, you could see it in a micro scale too, where you're practicing something and you feel like you got it, and then you play it a little bit more, and then you start missing some stuff, you start hitting wrong notes, and then you just create like this mental block for yourself. And at that point, it's the best thing to do is just to put the instrument down and walk away for a little bit, even if it's for like 5 minutes,
Yeah, and I really encourage, that's something that I'm really proud of myself, is that when I was back in school and still back in Portugal, I was not only practicing the repertoire that my teacher was asking, I was expanding way more repertoire. And since I had the time to, that gave me a lot of baggage that I could use for the future. Because when we're adults, you're not going to have as much time to practice because you have to, to do all these other things.
Right.
So the more you can do while you're, studying and looking for, learning also yourself. Do not wait for your teacher to tell you what to do. And that's something I'm very proud of myself, because I did that a lot. I was doing a lot of repertoire. I was listening to master classes, trying to playing for other people and get their comments, whoever it was. I'm sure I played for Zach when I was CMU, because the more you learn by yourself, the more self-learner you can be, and self-taught yourself too. And in the end, you have to become your own teacher, right? So I really encourage, for future students, really use the time that you're studying before you become an adult to really invest in your studying, to really pursue yourself in that regards. I remember back in Portugal, starting my solo career, I want to do solo recitals. And I did. I was contacting people, sending those cold emails that no one likes to send, and getting some recitals done. No one in my other classes were doing that, but the fact that I was doing, and it was me pursuing that, it taught me so much, because not only I was studying for my stupid finals, but I was actually playing. I was studying to play, and that's what I wanted to do. So, you really need to put not just the work, but you have to put your mindset and say, okay, I'm going to do as best as I can to learn. Don't wait for your teacher. Don't wait for finals to say, oh, it's time to go practice. It's time to do this. It's time to do B. No, you need, as a musician, you really need to invest in yourself and say, oh, okay, how can I learn today?
I was watching an interview with Michael League. He's like the front man for Snarky Puppy. I don't know if you've heard of. And he was saying college, that's the most time you're gonna have. If you're a working musician, that's the most time that you're gonna have to really hone in your craft.
Yes.
So take 100% advantage. And if I had anything to say to any incoming music major or anybody that's going to college for any sort of any craft, really, like that doesn't even have to be with music. It's like, take this time and 100% invest, like Miguel, what you were just saying, 100% invest yourself into this, so that you can stand out, so that you leave after those 4 years or 6 years or whatever, you stand out, because you were engulfed for however many years in what you want to do.
Sorry, Miguel, I want to go off of that real quick, because the word that you said, engulfed, is really important, I feel like, because I feel like a lot of kids going into college to study music, this goes off of both your guys' points. They are going there because they want the teacher to make them better, right? And I feel like, for one, Dr. Neil Mueller, everybody, if you haven't heard that guy, shout out Dr. Mueller. He plays at the Grand Rapids Symphony Orchestra. Hands down, one of the best professors I ever had. He no doubt made me better. He no doubt made me practice things that I did not want to practice, and I wouldn't have practiced unless he was there, right? But I feel like when you're going into college to study music, you should go into it having an idea of what kind of musician you want to be, and let the teachers guide you along that journey. Because if you go in there like I did, I knew that I wanted to play music, but I didn't know what kind of music I wanted to play. I didn't even really know what kind of music. Like, the music that I listened to growing up was like folk music and like punk rock and metal and everything like that, and I played trumpet. I'm like, man, I can't do that. So what am I going to do? And I will never ever forget this. I walked into a lesson one time with Dr. Mueller, and he had told me to work on a bunch of stuff that I didn't work on because I was working on something that I felt for me and my playing was more important. It was an unreal experience. I thought he was going to be really mad. And so what I did is I said, he's like, I pull out my horn and he's sitting behind his desk. He's like, okay, let's hear it. What's going first? And I literally said, Doc, I didn't practice any of the stuff that you told me to practice because I felt like my fundamental knowledge of my scales was holding me back. So here are 3 different forms of my major and minor scales in thirds, and just all these different versions. And his response, I thought he was going to be really mad, right? And he said, nice. Have you tried them in fourths yet? And I'm like, that's right, because once I expressed that I was like, this is what I feel like is really holding me back, he gave me more to work on in that area. He guided me on the right path, and I feel like, and no, I'm not saying don't practice what your professors tell you. Obviously practice what they tell you to. But sometimes you do have to have that idea and say, this is music. This is what I want to create. This is the kind of musician that I want to be. And this is what I feel like is going to help me the most. There's nothing in the end of the day, when you're a gigging musician, when you're a working musician and you do that for a living, guess what? There's not going to be somebody there to tell you, here's what you need to work on,
and build, back to that, when with all the repertoire that I did, I started to have an idea of what I want to do, what's my strength, what's my strongest repertoire that I can perform in public. Again, I do everything, but I had, and I still have, I know the concept of, okay, what I'm good at, what can I show, and what can I hide my flaws? Because no matter what, it's not only just becoming very good, you have a quality product, but you have to be able to hide your flaws, and I'm in the state that I can hide my flaws very well. And I know the repertoire that I can do. I know I'm a faker, but the repertoire, but when you go to school, really be open to, the more you explore, the more what kind of direction you want to go as a musician, but never shut your ears, because I remember Dr. David having that problem, that her repertoire was different from my repertoire. And I was that stubborn little kid that, no, I want to do this repertoire. I want to do this repertoire. I don't want to do the other. I'm not good with the other. But her strength was the other. And after leaving CMU, I started to know, I realized what she wanted to teach me, but I was being very stubborn and not humble, but not really humble. So I shut down that door. And, you can't do that as a musician. You really need to be open to anything. Of course, you know what you are and what you can sell. You need to get to that level, but always be open to other perspectives, because the more knowledge you get, the more repertoire you do, the more scales you do, the more qualified you are for the job.
Miguel, what you were saying earlier too, though, about also finding a balance and just being present. That just honestly, that spoke a lot to me, because I've been especially recently with a lot of this COVID stuff happening and a lot of uncertainty, it's very you start thinking more about what your future needs to be or what you want, as opposed to just still just being in the present, being thankful, being happy that you're able to still do what you want to do. That's always been kind of something that I've struggled with too.
Yeah, with the COVID, and one thing I think that everyone misses is human touch, right? The human connect, being able to meet someone, giving a hug, being able just to be with people, and things like, going to a restaurant, going to a bar that we took for granted. And then suddenly you don't have them. You start being looking at yourself saying, oh God, why didn't I enjoy that more? Why didn't I enjoy that moment more? You know, and yes, sure. I mean, I'm sure we'll get, you know, a year or 2 years, we'll get to that point, hopefully. But you really need to, you know, right now I have 2 dogs and I have a foster, and I do a lot of volunteer with in the shelters, and
it's just wonderful.
It's so, you know, for me, there's nothing as pure as a dog. And when, I mean, the dogs come from, you know, you're walking the dog in the shelter. I mean, they're so happy. I mean, they're, you know, they need food. They need, you know, these things that they were abused in the past, but they see you coming and they're just so happy. And having that, you know, just pure joy of the moment really taught me, you know, to want to reach that. And I think I'm getting to that point that I'm enjoying. Even if you have, you know, Zach knows me, I used to be very stressful. I'm still stressful, but now I don't think so much in the future, you know. I mean, he knows, oh, Zach, what's going to happen, what I'm going to do, you know.
Always.
Now,
no, it was never, oh, Zach, what's going to happen? It was, oh, Zach, what's going to happen?
I mean, and I'm sure he knows that I haven't done that as much as I did in the past.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you know, you have, you know, stones that you have to take care of, but you know, it gives you a challenge, and you know, and again, enjoying the present and just being able to really enjoying now. I'm alive, I'm healthy, you know. Yes, it could be better, but yes, it could be worse too. You know, I have a job. A lot of people don't have a job now. I mean, just recognizing the good things that you still have. You know, and respecting those. You know, now you go to social media, you see all these people complaining all the time, being very, you know, mean. And that's something that I'm trying to be a better person too, you know, just not getting to that point. I remember, this is very red, I was walking my dogs, and I hate when, you know, some driver, you know, is the stop sign is still red for him, but you know, they just keep going. I mean, they should not go, and they're right on the crossroad. And I was like, I'm not going to say anything because I'm going to be a better person, you know. And I passed. I had to kind of use a short one, and then the lady was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." She rolled the window and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry that I did that." And I was like, that was a sign. That was a sign that I'm doing the right thing in trying to be a better person, which sometimes, you know, it doesn't happen. But just being, you know, a nicer person, a more respectful person, embracing everything that the world has to have, I think it's very important. And applying to music, because I was not like that at all. I was not like that at all in the past. You know, just enjoying yourself. No, I was not.
You know how many times this guy over here told me that I sucked at the trumpet? And no, I'm totally just messing around.
No, I do that. No, if you know, that's something I can say. If you're, and I hate, because I'm sorry, don't get me wrong, but Americans love to do that. Even if it's bad, if it's shitty, forgive me the word, people say, oh, it was gorgeous. No, if it's bad, I don't say anything. I just don't say anything. If it's good, you know, I mean, if I say it's good, it's because it was really, really good. No, that's something that I can't do, that I just, you know, fake compliment. It's just not for me, because you're not respecting the person.
We oftentimes are too nice to people when it comes to critiquing their work, especially when you're in a situation where you're asking for it. Like, I would ask Miguel all the time. I'd be like, hey, will you come listen to me play, you know, I don't know, Petrushka? Tell me what you think. And if he's just like, oh my God, it's beautiful, how is that making me better?
Yeah.
You know, he can be looking at the score saying, hey, in the fifth measure, dude, that's the wrong articulation. Or like, dude, oh my gosh, your intonation is like terrible. And he definitely did that sometimes. And I appreciate you for it, because how else am I supposed to get better, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, and we're, I've noticed, and I don't know if Annie noticed that too with the students, but I know that now you can't say certain things. You can't make them sad. You can't tell them, oh, that was bad, because they will complain, and then the teacher is, you know, goes to the jail or whatever, because that was not good. And I do notice that in our society, that it's getting to that point that everyone gets a prize, which should not be. Never in life.
I agree.
You get a prize if you're good enough and if you work for it. You should not be awarded by not putting the work, the time, and sacrificing for that. But now we're getting to that point, and I do notice that at A&M. I mean, I love them, I really do, but I can't. There's a lot of people I can't be really honest, because if I say something wrong, they'll just cry in front of me, and then I'm the monster, which I'm not. I mean, I'm just trying to, make them better. Make them, better human beings too. I mean, if they're doing something stupid, I'm supposed, what? I should not say it. I should say, oh, that's okay. That's, just keep going. No, I mean, it's not right. How do we learn if no one just slaps your face?
Right. So like going off, like, as you use music, you're teaching music, but that's also a medium to teach life skills. And if you're not allowed to do that for students, it is such a detriment for their development. Because at the end of the day, the things that you say are not going to nearly be as ass kicking as life is going to be.
Dude, see, that's the thing. Like, you get into a real job and your manager is like, what the fuck? Like, literally, what the fuck was that? Do that again, I'm going to fire you. Where's your income going to be? If that's the first time that you experience somebody saying any negative things about what you're trying to do, you are in for a rude awakening.
Exactly. So what are we preparing? If we're not preparing students for that, what are we doing? Now it's also the mental health is the big thing, in our respect. But I think there's a lot of people that use that as an excuse to not doing what you're supposed to do. So, you see these students with an excuse saying, oh, I'm excused to miss the class, or I'm excused to miss that assignment. Now I'm going to ask. So if you go to a job, you miss your job, you have an excuse. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't feel well. I mean, no one is going to hire someone that presents that. I mean, you have, you have to have some resilience, right?
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
what our parents did. That's what we do all the freaking time. And again, yes, there are some cases, and I respect them, but it should not be used as an excuse. And now everyone likes to use as an excuse. Oh, I'm depressed. Let me just stay in bed all the day. No, that's just not. That just can't happen. So what about if you have a kid? Are you just going to stay in bed all freaking day?
Right.
Because
Yeah. And I think, it's like the word that you said, resilience. If you go out and you expose, especially if you are a music major and you're studying music, you're there because you find passion in music and you want to do that for the rest of your life. Not doing that is going to make you upset. Is going to cause it's going to cause depression.
Yes.
And I feel like there's a lot of people who it becomes kind of a slippery slope where I'll do that tomorrow. I'm not feeling super well today. I'll do that the next day, and then a week goes by, and then a month goes by, and then you start looking back at, okay, I haven't done anything. And then that gets you even more depressed, It's a slippery slope. So it's important to have teachers like you, Miguel, to show the students, no, you have to do this. Like, you have to do this. In order for your success and for your mental and physical well-being, you need to get up and you need to do this thing, whatever it may be. I think that's super important.
I mean, there's a standard in life. I mean, there's just, there's a standard in everything that we have to do. And if we're not ready for that, and if someone is always, oh, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, every day, it's not teaching you anything.
Right.
It's making you worse as a person.
Yeah. I remember one time specifically, my professor just kicked me out of a lesson because it wasn't good enough. Like, I came in and I was underprepared. And he's like, get out. You're wasting my time and you're wasting your own time. That instance right there, boom, 180. Yeah. After that, that's all it took too. That's all it took.
Dude, I had a really similar experience where, shout out Dr. Mueller. when I walked into a lesson and the stuff that I was playing wasn't good, and he was not mean about it by any means. He gives you like the disappointed dad kind of thing, and he just said, "You know what? Why don't you use the rest of our lesson time to go practice?"
I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was so hurt after that. I was like, "Go. You need to practice. Get your butt in the practice room. That was not good enough." And you know what? I got better for it.
Yeah.
You know. So speaking on this topic of resilience, Miguel, you are somebody that when I think of that word resilience, you are like the image of that. You know, and I think it'd be really, really valuable to not only me but our audience if you would go a little bit in depth about your experience coming to this country and trying to make it as a musician.
So wow, it seems so far, so long ago. So when
you're old now, dude.
Yeah.
You're like 31, man. That's so old.
Tell that to my gray hair. But when I finished my college in 2010 in Portugal, I knew, the market in Portugal was very small. So it's a small country, you already had the top musicians. I did things, but I felt that, there's just not a big enough space for me to explore. I was aware of the market that I was facing. There was just not any space to explore. It was, you had these old people, very good players. We do have really good musicians, but it's like everyone, in the lake, just trying to show some themselves.
Right.
Yeah, the red ocean.
Yeah, and after also, interesting fact is that you guys had your crisis in 2008, and then that hit Portugal in 2010. And I remember on Wednesdays I was going to specifically to a city in Portugal to teach all day, and I remember driving back and hearing on the news that our government was we didn't have any government anymore because they all quit. That's how bad it was. Now I remember, okay, it's time for me to take the step. And it was maybe 2 years of a process of preparing, of getting to know, kind of just having my mental stage ready for that, saving as much money as I could. My mom, I was taking care, and I'm still taking care of my mom. So I wanted to make sure that I left Portugal with having, a lot of saved, just to make sure that everything was all right there with her and my dog, my last dog then. And, coming to America 2013, I mean, it was a great experience, but it was not easy. It's a different culture. You're by yourself. I remember, I had my own house in Portugal, my own car, and then suddenly coming here and being walking to Walmart to do groceries, for example, back in Mount Pleasant. I remember being snowing, and I'm still walking to Walmart to get my groceries. All the process of and the culture was different. One thing I can't complain, people have been very nice to me, at Samuel, class at Andy people were always very supportive. That is something that I really respect and admire in America, that I was very, very, I always felt welcome. But it was not easy, and then you as an immigrant, and now especially with Trump, and Zach knows, it's always very complicated to do stuff. As a performer too, you always have these visas that you have to worry about.
Wow.
So you're right, Zach. I think that I'm very resilient. I've put myself a goal, and I was, okay, whatever happens, just keep going. Yeah, sometimes, you want to cry and you want to just say, fuck it all. But, that end goal, just keeping that, just, okay, I can do it. I can do it. Whatever it takes, I can do it. That was always my slogan. Whatever it takes, just show them that you can do. And I do feel that I accomplished that, even in my career, personal life. Just coming to another country, making such a huge step, leaving my comfort zone, and then moving to Texas. That was not easy too. I remember leaving Mount Pleasant with my rental car. Zach remembers that.
I remember that.
Everything that I could pack, and just it has been adventures after adventures, but it really taught me how to be very persistent and, just not giving up.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
And that creates a sense of confidence. That also creates a sense of just wonderment towards your own life. Like appreciating everything that you've done, being able to look back and be proud. That's such a awesome, unique feeling that it's sad to think when people don't have that, So, and that's where being resilient is super important, because then you could say, I did X, Y, and Z. I made it through it.
Yeah.
If I could do it, you could do it, especially when it comes to music.
Yeah. And I remember still being, when I decided to be a musician before dying, I want to be able to say, I did everything I could. I did everything I could to reach to the point that I was. And I really do think I did. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that say, I'm trying, but they're not. And it's not just music, it's everything. They're saying, I'm trying, but they try one day, and then the next day they don't try. It's like working out. I started working out 2 years ago, and I'm very regular. I'm 6 days a week. Whatever happens, even when the shutdown happened, I was working out at home, just doing my stupid home workouts, but whatever. And there's a lot of people back in January say, "Oh, yes, change my body, let's do it," and they do it for the first 2 weeks, and then they stop. Why? Because it's just, "Oh, I'm tired," or "Oh, I don't want to do it anymore." But then they regret that they don't have the body that they want to have. Things like that. You really need to be persistent and just say, I tried. No, did you really try though? Did you really put the effort on what you're trying to reach?
Yeah.
And that needs to be taught, because a lot of people are just being lazy. And now with the social media, people are just lazy. They don't want to do anything. They just want to stay in the computer and just, scrolling Reddit or YouTube. I mean, sometimes I do that too. I'm not going to lie, but that's not all my life. That's just maybe 5 minutes.
No, it's just so crazy, because when you're thinking about that, I feel like that directly relates to what we were talking about earlier with like the coddling kids. Like I have this like innate drive to do things, to complete tasks. You know what I mean? To set my mind to something and then to complete tasks. And where that really comes from is like, when I was a kid, I watched my parents do that, I watched my parents, and in some respect, I think they could have chilled out a little bit, because they were working, both my parents were working all the time, always brought work home, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, because of that, I feel like if there's an obstacle in front of me, I can get through it. I can go around it if I need to, I can climb over it if I need to, but I'm going to get past it. Right. And that sort of resilience, it's like, how do you go about teaching that? You gotta do it when they're kids, right?
And I mean, I'm not going to lie, especially for me, writing, it never comes that easily. I guess in computer say I have to write this, whatever. I write 5 minutes. Okay, let me just check some YouTube just to, it's something that it really kind of takes from me, but so, I have things like being lazy. Some tasks are not hard for me, but just like, okay, I can take an hour. Okay, no, maybe let's just spend more 30 minutes. Can't be lazy, but, you need to put yourself, no, I'm not being productive, a slap in your face, and you just go back to work and try to do the best that you can, but there's this, but yes, and I think having this resilience really not only it's good for you, but for a job situation, you need to be like that. You have a deadline, you have to fill the deadline. You can't just, I don't feel it today. Well, maybe tomorrow I'll do it. Yeah, of course.
So, kind of going off of that topic too, you booked a European solo piano tour all by yourself.
Yes, I did.
And that was when you were living in America too. It's not like you were in Europe already.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
So
I was there.
Yeah, I met him. Yes, I met him
in Barcelona.
It was so much fun. Poor Zach, because he had to deal with a lot of my stress back then.
Oh my gosh, you were a walking ball.
But that's another story. No, that process, the reason I decided to do something so big is I found it was a moment for me to do something that big. It was not easy. It started maybe 2016. And that was when Trump got elected. So, the traveling business is always a little, it was a little weird back then. People really didn't know what's going to happen. But I remember having this project that in my mind was, in the beginning, was a multimedia project where I was playing and I had multimedia going on. And for 2 or 3 months, I was working on that. I was, talking with people at A&M to do some graphics work for that. I had repertoire just, that each piece had a picture or an image in mind. But I remember, and that's something that I learned too, is sometimes relying on other people or, working in group can be very good, but also can be very dangerous, because if you have a project that's relying on that, it can be problematic. And I remember 2016 being October, and I say, okay, this project that I have going anywhere. I have to start booking my tour. Mm-hmm. So it was like, was LinkedIn, adding all these people, making all these connections, a lot of no responses, a lot of maybe, but then nothing. Mm-hmm. And then, you have to sell yourself, and do your best you can, sending this maybe 50 emails per day and just trying to figure out. And it turned out to be, it was 10 countries, in 3 weeks, I think, maximum 3 weeks. And the itinerary I was doing the itinerary the best I could to be the most feasible way to do it.
Right.
But again, there's a lot of factors to manage by yourself. And I was already late, because if you're preparing a tour in less than a year, because at that point was October, November, December, January, March, I was still booking the final concerts. And the tour was starting in June. Oh, so, wow. It was very, so you have to say yes or you have to say no. You have to do what works best for you. But it was, it was a lot of, let me tell you, I'm humble, but I know I have a good product. I know that the material that I presented was, you showed me well. I know I was ready for this step. If it was easy, playing Germany where everyone knows classical music is not easy, because you know that you're being judged by the notes, or going to UK. And I remember a person saying, being very specific about what he was criticizing. Not positive, but the fact that he knew the music I was playing, it was, it can be very scary. Mm-hmm. And then traveling all over, getting lost. Yes, Google Maps is, a good weapon. Getting lost or calling Zach, oh my God, I was in Germany and I was in this building that I was left by myself. Yeah. And I saw they had ghosts all over. So I called Zach, oh my God, Zach, I can't sleep. It was a huge thunderstorm. It was horrible. But it's something that it was an awesome experience. It was 3 years ago. It's feasible. Nowadays, everyone can book a tour. That's just a fact. I learned booking tours actually working at A&M, because the choirs that we work, they have their own tours. And that's how I learned booking a tour. This was something I could have done in Portugal, but the concept of tour was not a concept in my head yet. Financially, how do you manage financial? You have to have a lot of saves. You can't rely on a tour to provide income. I was lucky enough that my income and my expenses were covered by, it was a phenomenon, because I was surprised about that. Very surprised. Mm-hmm. But you have to be prepared financially to take that step. Now, what does it bring to you? Fame, it does. People say, oh, you were on the European tour. That's awesome. And that opens another doors for you as well. So you have to take the risk. I took a risk. I knew it was going to be a risk. there was a time I was like, okay, I'm not going to do it anymore. I remember in December, I just, it's too much work. I can't pull this up. But I was like, no, you just keep going. You put this goal on so you're going to finish. And I did. I mean, I think it was successful. Mm-hmm. Some concerts, it was, I remember in Switzerland playing for 4 people at the lunch concert, but whatever. It is what it is. You present yourself, you do your work. Next day, you're in another country. And it's something that is very feasible to do. You can, local tours. America has a lot of, I hope with the COVID things get better, but, you have a lot of market here to explore. Go on tours. The best way you can learn is by performing. You cannot expect learning how to perform if you're not performing at all.
So one thing I want to talk about this is the actual logistics of getting in touch with people and making sure that the dates all line up in the right ways. So that's kind of like 2 questions there, but the first one is, how did you go about getting in touch with these venues, getting in touch with these people to book?
So what I did was, my foster dog is doing some damage. Just give me a second.
Let's see.
Just it decides to destroy some. I don't even know what it is. It decided to destroy some church music.
Oh, perfect.
That's okay. Who cares about Jesus? But yeah, I mean.
Oh my gosh.
He's a sweet.
Can I have him?
What's his name?
Yes, he doesn't even have a name.
Oh.
So if you guys want to name it, it's the time to do it.
Leo.
Leo.
Oh, that's such a beautiful name.
I know. I'm gonna name my first kid, boy, girl, don't care, Leo.
That's a beautiful name, but whatever. So what I did was I used Google Maps and imagine UK, and I search culture venues or arts organization, and I start making a list. Schools, music schools. They call culture centers back in Europe. I used a lot, for example, UK. You speak English, it's easy. Now imagine you're something like Italy or Belgium. I use a lot of Google Translate. So, okay, I'm in Google Maps, Belgium. But you need to really look for the right words. So I use Google Translate. Okay, arts organization or whatever. Use that, what's got, and then search. So I started making a list, country. So imagine tomorrow I'll be working on France. I'll make a list about France, contacts. I might start sending some emails to those contacts. The day after, Norway, the same process. And then, as you have, I use a lot of Drive. I had this list. Okay, contacts, their response, no response, maybe, yes, no. To set up the dates, I always, in my cold email, I'll say, okay, my name is Miguel. I work for A&M, and I'm organizing a European tour. I'm looking for these dates. So before I contact them, I kind of had the itinerary, in my mind of date. And I'll say, okay, I'm available on July 16, 17, 18. Mm-hmm. And if they say, yes, that works. If they say, no, it doesn't work, you work another dates. I put them as my plan B, and if I didn't have anything for those dates, I would go back to that and then include that on the list. I use a lot of LinkedIn. I think that's a very good tool for musicians that are not using as much, because you can contact directly with the people. You can see their jobs, so you can see what they're doing. So I use, that was kind of my approach to start contacting them. I start finishing the dates, honestly, as soon as my first person gave me a date, I start working, kind of made the itinerary on base of that. I had, so Zach might remember this, but I started in Germany and I had to go back to Germany again. Yes, I think I had a case like that I had to go back to a country again. But again, in Europe, it's very easy to travel. And that's something that is not as easy in America. The flights are very cheap. You have trains all over. It's very easy to travel back and forth. But that's how I would do. And okay, knowing the map, if I'm in Spain, I'm close to Portugal, I'm close to France, I'm close to England. So I would try to have the itinerary as best as I could, that it was very close. I had pretty much performance every day. That's something that I don't recommend, just because if a travel arrangement fails, which I had one happening in Spain actually, if something fails, you might not be able to get to the performance. And that's what happened to me. I had one train that I didn't catch, and there was just any other chance. It was a Saturday to get to that venue, but they were they understood the situation, and it was fine. But that's something that I would avoid in the future, is having every day a concert, kind of having more rest days too. But that's, like just presenting myself, saying what I'm doing. This is my social media, this is my YouTube, some videos of my playing. This is the dates that I have. Yes, no. If yes, okay, let's book a date. If no, okay, thank you. If no response, you just move on, and don't think about it. But that's kind of what I did.
And that concludes part 1 of our interview with Miguel Sousa. Join us back here Thursday, January 21st at 11 a.m. Eastern Time for part 2. Until next time, keep it real.